Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Make Your Mark podcast. And do I have an awesome guest for you? Oh my goodness. Now, Tom Beal is a man who has overcome incredible odds to achieve success in his life. Born to teenage parents and raised in a tumultuous... Okay, so I knew I was going to have issues with that word.
Tumultuous. Yeah, right.
Tumultuous environment. He rose to become a national bicycle champion. #1 honor graduate in Marine Corps boot camp. #1 in 5 sales organizations. And he has helped his clients generate tens of millions of dollars in online revenue. Now Tom is known as the Simplifier and offers his expertise and insights on stages throughout the world to help others reach their next level success, regardless of the obstacles they may face. Through personal coaching, live seminars, and online resources, he will guide you on the path to achieving your dreams and achieving your best year yet. Please welcome the amazing Tom Beal to the stage. Oh my goodness, Tom, I am super excited to have you here.
Excited to be here, Kay, and we've known each other for many years, and it's an honor to be here to have this discussion that I'm really excited to have with you, and also hear the feedback of the people that have been fortunate to cross paths with this interaction about to come.
Oh, definitely. Oh my God. I can see there's going to be a lot of interaction in this. It's going to be an exciting episode. But Tom, before we get into the nitty-gritty, right, tell us a little bit about your background, right? What it looked like when you were kind of growing up, just kind of get an insight on how things have changed throughout the years.
Wow. Well, I just turned 50, so half of 100. Like, what the heck? Years go by fast, decades go by fast, life goes by fast. And we had a little brief conversation before going live, and I was just sharing with you how fast forward from my childhood up to just a few years back, 2007, my mom was diagnosed and gone within weeks of cancer at 52 years old. And then 2 years later, that was in 2007, 2 years later in 2009, my father was diagnosed and gone within weeks before he turned 57. He died at 56. So that's to fast forward of showing how quickly this journey goes. But to go back, they were only 17 and 19 years old when I was born. So picture that, my mom being that teenager, my dad still being a teenager. And what I found out later in my childhood was that this was back when Roe versus Wade had recently been passed. And there was a lot of discussion to have my teenage parents not allow me to be born on both sides of the family. There was a lot of talk about, hey, are you guys really sure you want this baby or not? So just the fact that I was born was, in essence, miraculous. Not to say I have a miraculous, we all have that miraculous experience, thankful to our parents. But there was a lot of pressure to not have me born. And I don't know how my parents stayed strong to not choose that path for me and allow me to be born. Now, being born to teenagers, there was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of adversity. There was, in my childhood, I lived through 4 divorces and 6 marriages between my 2 parents. And there was alcoholism, there was abuse, there was neglect, there was massive amounts of chaos. Went to 9 different schools by 8th grade, not just in the same area, but in upstate New York, Rochester, New York area. And then also she met one of her husbands when I was about 8 years old, who ended up being my stepfather. We moved from upstate New York to North Carolina. So uprooted and moved away to a farm in North Carolina with her new boyfriend at the time, which then later became my stepfather. And that was a traumatic experience. And through all of that, I always asked, like, man, there were a lot of tears, there was a lot of pain. And I made some choices as a child that positively impacted me in my life. But then I also made some choices that, I guess, in retrospect, negatively impacted my journey. And we'll probably discuss some of those. But one of the things that led to me being that high performer, being that person who was good at school, being that person who was good in athletics. I was a national bicycle freestyle champion as a teenager. I was a top wrestler. Was kind of my desire to say, look at me, I'm good enough. Look at me, I'm worthy. Look at me, I'm lovable, right? So my high achievement came from that desire to be seen and appreciated by my family and friends around me. So that was a positive that came from all that, but it was be able to, in later in my life, be redirected, and help me help others with taking life for what it is, the good, the bad, the ugly. It is what it is. How can you use it to your advantage to succeed in any dreams or goals that you have? So that's the nutshell of my growing up. But through that, like I said, I was able to achieve great results. And then it led to also me being an honor man out of United States Marine Corps boot camp, and me meritoriously promoted 3 times, and then doing 4 years of active duty, and deciding I had done what it was mine to do there, got into sales and became #1 in 5 sales organizations, and then decided, hey, it's time to break out of the corporate world and be an entrepreneur. And being the highly successful person I'd been, I thought I would set records of how quickly I became worth tens of millions of dollars. And the funny part of it is, regardless of being successful as a bicycle freestylist, as a national champion rider, or the honor man out of boot camp, or #1 in 5 sales organizations, transitioning to be an entrepreneur, I skidded across the pavement on my face is a good way. Like I didn't succeed as quickly as I had envisioned, I guess. So it was not a simple transition. Yet through that, I didn't throw the towel in. I continued to persevere and learn the lessons that need to be learned to allow myself to achieve some great results, and then tested it on, hey, can I help others dream big and put the processes and systems in place that I've simplified over my journey into their life, and can I help them turn their dreams into reality? And lo and behold, I was able to do that. So it's been one heck of a journey. And I guess the bottom line is, regardless of your personal experience, I'm not trying to say I had the worst life ever by any stretch of the imagination, but we all have chaos. It's my belief that we're either in some serious chaos right now, we either just coming out of some serious chaos, and or there's some serious chaos around the corner. And when you're able to embrace it and expect that chaos, it doesn't pull you off path. It doesn't pull you into a deep, dark spiral. It's more pulling you into a, oh, cool, I didn't expect this. How can I, what's the next step for me to take to continue this journey? So that's the brief nutshell of the crazy 50 years I've experienced. Obviously, there's more we can dive deep into, but that gives us a starting point as to who the heck this Tom Beal guy is.
Oh my goodness. Now, Tom, I knew you had like a really diverse background. I just didn't know how deep it was, right? Mm-hmm. And so thank you for just being vulnerable and just, just letting us know what kind of things that you were kind of going through growing up. Like, wow. But I've got so many questions for you.
Let's do it.
Right? So first of all, you mentioned that your parents passed away at a young age, right? Mm-hmm. 52, and I think you said 54 for your dad,
56,
right?
52 and 56, yeah.
52 and 56. Now, one of the things I guess people will kind of be thinking about, like you mentioned that you're now 50,
correct,
right? Almost the same age as your parents, right? So mentally, emotionally, right? How do you kind of stop yourself from going down the road of, oh my goodness, I'm coming to the age of when my parents passed away? Like, am I going to be okay? What's going to happen? What's around the corner? Because a lot of people go into that hole.
Yes.
Right.
That's a fantastic question. And so it's something that you and others have heard that story have brought to my attention. Like, hey, you're coming close to that. How do you feel about that? And here's my perspective on this. So what I didn't get into in that brief description was I've had so many things happen in my life. One of them was a near-death experience for me on September 11th, 1998. So 3 years prior to the September 11th, we all remember, where the towers fell. 3 years prior, I was in a single car accident on a country road in upstate New York that went off the road, rolled 4 times, and I was ejected from the sunroof laying in a field. And I couldn't stand up. I had severe head trauma. I had nerve damage to my leg, but thankfully in the rolling, the car didn't crush me. I had no cuts. I had no bleeding or anything like that. But what happened is I was in the middle of this field and the battery fell out in the roll. So no one came for hours. So I'm laying in this field. And next thing you know, I see someone laying in a field. I'm about 20, 30 feet in the air, and I'm wondering what's going on. And I'm all confused. And next thing you know, I'm brought up into the bright white light. I'm having the near-death experience that we've heard in movies and things like that, where it's all bright white light. And I'm standing there and I see my sisters who were 10 and 12 years younger than me crying at my funeral. And I see my family at my funeral, and it hurt. It was painful. And so that I saw my life, in essence, flash in front of me. And then something or someone came and put their arm around me, and all that fear and all that confusion went away. And I just had peace. I just knew everything was okay. And even though it was all bright white light, we turned 180 degrees, and now we're facing these huge doors that are open, and immense bright white light is coming out of it. And we start walking towards the doors. And halfway there, I said, "Stop. This isn't how it's supposed to end. I know you had more for me to accomplish. Send me back." What had happened is, and I found out because one of my stepbrothers ended up being in the fire department in this town, Geneva, New York, and they were one of the first responders there. So basically, what happened is, at the edge of that field was a house, but it was a good distance away from where the crash occurred in this country road. And the people were in bed. It was around 10 p.m. The people were in bed. They got up, they looked out the window, they didn't see anything, but they heard something. They went back to sleep, and he just knew something wasn't right. So he got up, and an hour or so later called the 911 and said, "Hey, I heard something. I can't see anything, but I know something happened." So they sent people there, and it was handled as if it was a fatality. So basically what that means is, I don't know all the details, but in essence, they didn't think I was going to be alive by the time I got to the hospital. So there's protocol to keep the ID there at the site, or something happened where basically I was a John Doe at the hospital in intensive care.
Wow.
And so I was missing for my friends and family for that evening until almost more than 12 hours, 18 hours later. So anyhow, when I woke up after being helicopter lifted from that accident scene, I woke up in intensive care with a respirator breathing for me. And all I remember is it hurts really bad to be awake and have a respirator breathing for you. But once they got that out, I also had severe head trauma, so I couldn't speak, and I couldn't speak, and I couldn't walk. So the doctors and the nurses were telling me and my family, after I turned from a John Doe to them finally searching and finding me there, which is a whole different long story. They were telling me and my family that I may never walk or talk properly again. So I couldn't speak, but I just shook my head no. I never once for a second envisioned me not walking and talking. That just wasn't a possibility for me. But as soon as I could walk with a walker, I signed myself out against doctor's orders from the intensive care. So I signed myself out and am now walking and talking, and have since won wrestling tournaments and done many amazing things since that event. But that was another eye-opening experience for me. So that near-death experience basically has changed my perspective. And what I do tries to answer that question you asked me, Kay, is help people live life with the second chance that I have, without having to go through the trauma and without having to go through the chaos that I went through. And so that goes back to all the traumatic experiences I witnessed as a child, and that trauma of the car accident on September 11th, 1998, plus watching and being there for my mother and father having their last breath at 52 and 56. My second chance. So I have a book coming out called "You Are Not Dead Yet." And that's where we all end up. So I try to help people understand, without having to have a near-death experience, like, look, you chose to be here. You have a purpose for being here. You are good enough. You are worthy. You are lovable. And now it's time for you to embrace your gifts, your personality, your experience, your perspective. Get clear on where you are, get clear on where you're wanting to go, and discern every minute of the day what's mine to do. Am I taking my life, my health, my relationships, and finances from where it is now to where I want it to be, where I envision it can be? So I gave an analogy basically in my book that says we're at the greatest amusement park in the universe. Life on Earth as a human. We're all at this great amusement park. And you're in a different country than I am right now. And this whole world is our playground, right? This world is the greatest amusement park in the universe. And when you have that mindset, similar to what you'd have with your friends or family if you went to an amusement park, let's just say you go there for a week, and or whether it's for 2 days, 3 days, or a week, it's over before you know it, right? So is this journey, regardless of how long we live. My parents, they died at 52, 56. I've had friends that died in their teens. I've had friends that died in their 20s, their 30s, or 40s. So the key of it is to say, you know what, I'm at this greatest amusement park. The rub of it is it's going to go fast, but we don't know when we're exited out. We don't know when we're getting escorted out of there. We're having a blast, and this too shall pass, right? This too shall pass isn't just what I mistaked for in my early years, was thinking that's just this too shall pass when bad times are happening. This too shall pass also is for good times. Think of the multimillionaires, the billionaires who are no longer here. They're dead. They were escorted out of the greatest amusement park already. How much would they rent your body for? Like, you can go rent a nice car, you can go rent a nice boat, you can go rent a nice plane. How much would our most amazing vehicle in the universe rent for if a billionaire could rent it? The answer is everything. For half a day in Kay's body, half a day in Tom's body, half a day in your body, regardless of what you feel your physical health is, you're still here in this most amazing vehicle. The answer is everything. Steve Jobs, if he could rent your vehicle for half a day, would give $60+ billion for half a day in your vehicle. Think about that. So we're here at the most amazing amusement park in the universe with this most amazing vehicle, most coveted vehicle in the universe, our $1 trillion vehicle. And it's really just about gaining clarity of like, this journey's going to be over before we want to. In essence, it's over in a second. Just like those trips. Think back of the last trip you took in an amusement park. If you were there for 3 days or a week, you're there, and before you know it, you're home. Like similarly, we're here for just a limited amount of time. So when you transition and look at it from that perspective, like this is the most amazing amusement park in the universe. When I'm at the amusement park with my family, we're not sitting around looking at our phones. We're going, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Continually. So you need to continually discern what's mine to do now. And I commend you for choosing to be here watching this powerful podcast. And you're in Kay's world. That's the right place to be, because you are now seeking how to maximize my journey here. If you don't just have to get a general admission ticket to the amusement park, you can get a VIP pass. You can rent the whole amusement park and no one else can be there if you have the means, right? There are different ways to experience the amusement park, and there's the general admission, but you're here in Kay's world, which you're now getting the fast pass, right? This is the fast pass that helps you skip the long lines of general admissions. You're gaining insights from people that she brings on here, like me and others, to help you fast pass to make the most of this brief journey we have. But you're also recognizing what's mine to do. So, Kay, a lot of your viewers are probably business owners or entrepreneurs, and I mistook what's mine to do when I was in workaholic mode decades ago. That the answer could only be a revenue producing activity. So when I'm with my kids or when I'm with my significant other, I'm thinking, oh, I'm not doing what's mine to do, which has to be a revenue producing activity. That's incorrect. I've since emotionally matured to trust my discernment. And when I ask myself what's mine to do now, sometimes what's mine to do is absolutely close the computer down and go out with my kids, go out with my significant other, go out and do something for myself. Right. So it's not always just a revenue producing activity. You have to discern between your health, your relationships, and your finances. They're all of high importance. Which one now is the answer to what's mine to do? And health, similar to finances. A lot of people think, just because you have a lot of money, everything's set. Right. Well, money is one aspect of success, but the other aspects are health and relationships and the finances. So health, relationships, and finances. So money isn't the only thing. So with finances, you got your today money, you got your tomorrow money, you got your contribution. With your health, it's also similar to success. Most people think success is just money based. It's everything. Health isn't just the reflection of the mirror. It's your mental health, your relational health, your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. And then your relationships are your personal, professional, and social relationships. You need to know who your people are and how you're investing into those relationships instead of wasting that capital. So that's a brief nutshell of how I don't look at you're not dead yet from the fear standpoint. I look at it from similar to being at the most amazing amusement park. Like I want to squeeze all the joy out of it that I can. And so a two-word summary to what your purpose is, Kay, my purpose, and every viewer of this podcast is a 2-word summary of what your purpose is: joyous creation. Be the joyous creator that you and only you came here to be. Your own unique personality, experience, and perspective. What brings you joy, and how can you do that in your health, your relationships, and your finances? And the real key is when you can find out how to tap into what brings you joy into your financial world, you're getting paid to have fun, right? That's really the win of this whole game from my perspective.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, Tom, every word that comes out of your mouth, I feel like we could be speaking forever on this topic. But one of the things that really shouts out to everything that you said so far is you've kept discipline, right? With consistently making sure, finding out a way, right, to be successful, to be where you want to get to. Now, that discipline, did it come from the Marine Corps? How was that embedded? Because people always say, take action, stay consistent, but no one talks about discipline, right?
Yes.
Where does that come from?
The discipline came from being in sports when I was young. So the sports activities led me to understand discipline, right? So even the sports that I wasn't the greatest at. So I loved doing baseball, but I wasn't the greatest at it. That taught me discipline, right? Because you have to practice, and you don't just practice in a half-ass manner. You practice perfectly. Like you want to give your all in practice. How you practice is how you will perform, right? So whether it was running in track or running in cross country or wrestling, wrestling is the real sport that gave me discipline, because wrestling incorporated not just the discipline of practice, which means you had to do the running, you had to do the gym work, you had to do the mat work, but you also had to make weight, right? Which also included the discipline of what you actually ingested, the foods that you put in your body, the liquids that you put in your body. And in retrospect, I had discipline from that, but I was working harder instead of smarter. Like they didn't really get into the nutritional side of properly fueling your $1 trillion body, right? So like now I'm at 50 years old, I teach my clients and remind myself that this is a multi-trillion-dollar vehicle. We treat our vehicles like our cars and boats and planes with respect, but how many are treating their $1 trillion vehicle, the most coveted vehicle in the world, with the proper respect? So this is actually taking into account the liquids that you put into your body and how powerful those are for fueling your body, the fuel of food that you put in your body. So I'm saying that because back when I had the discipline in wrestling as a youngster, I was putting junk in my body, right? I just like
We all
not
do
eating.
that when we're younger, right?
We didn't know. They didn't really teach us that. So I was putting crap into my body, yet still doing the work, and it was paying off. But for many years, I still poisoned my body with stuff I was putting in it instead of recognizing it for what this is, the $1 trillion vehicle, and I'm the caretaker of it. So if I'm going to treat my car nicely, why wouldn't I treat my body nicely? So I abused my body, even though I had the discipline, with liquids and foods that weren't the optimal fuel for my body. But the sporting activities led me to discipline. So when I talked to the recruiter and before I went to the Marine Corps, he asked if I played in any sports, and I told him I wrestled. He's like, "Oh, boot camp will be easy for you then," right? Because of the discipline that I learned in wrestling. So wrestling, boxing, gymnastics, the sports that have the individual capacity, martial arts, people that studied those types of sporting athletic adventures as a child, you have probably a little more discipline than the average person who didn't study. Like the individual sports bring a whole different level of discipline. The sports like soccer and football and baseball, those also teach discipline, but not at the singular level. That or tennis is another good one. It's you and the opponent, and there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. And based upon your preparation, your discipline, your commitment, you have a huge role in whether you're the victor or the one that's defeated. So sports played a big role.
Really interesting that you said that. Now, see, I used to do boxing and I was an MMA fighter, right? And what I found the most is that, and you probably find this as well, is you have a huge competitive streak. You have to win all the time. And if you lose, you get back on until you win again. Right?
Well, you beat yourself up. I beat myself up. People that are in those individual sports also beat themselves up. And there needs to come, at least for me, it was a maturity level of not beating myself up so badly. But the essence, you basically get mature enough to know that, did I properly do all that was mine to do? Like if I prepared with all that I had, in essence, I left it all on the field. I left it all on the mat. If I prepared properly, I now don't have to beat myself up so much because I know I took all the steps I could have. And in essence, that person edged me out. And I could have learned the lessons. And like next time we go at it, I have some insights that I think can help me get that victory. However, on the flip side, if I slacked off and if I didn't go do the runs that I knew were mine to do, if I didn't eat the proper fuel and food that I was supposed to eat, or didn't do the work that was mine to do, now I knew that I neglected doing that in preparation. So now that's the beating up aspect. Like, okay, I know that this was mine to do and I didn't do it. Right. And that's led to me not getting this victory. Right. So it's time for me to either commit to doing what's mine to do or, throwing the towel, which competitors don't like throwing the towel. So it's really just leveling up is the real bottom line of this. Like, look, I have the goal to win. The person that's competing with me also has the goal to win. I'm going to outwork that person. And with my dedication, my commitment, my discipline, I'm going to give my all. And I actually came to this point where this actually is a great story, by the way. I forgot about this. This is probably a big turning point in my life. So
Okay.
in high school, I was immature mentally and emotionally in this regard. I had people, so I went up a weight class. I was 119. I went up to 126 and beat this dude that was at 126. And when I was done with that and going over to see my dad after the match, a coach from another town told my dad, "Your son's going to win states." I never said this to anybody. I said it internally to my mind. I said, "No, I'm not. I can't beat Gary Dakar." I had a
Mm.
limiting belief on what others saw my capabilities and what I truly had as my capabilities. I didn't feel I was worthy of what my true capabilities were. So I had a limiting belief in myself that no one else knew about. However, fast forward a few weeks, we're in the quarterfinals or semifinals of sectionals, and I'm wrestling Gary Dakar. And with seconds left in the match, it was 0-0. And I never did this in my entire career. This is my senior year in high school. And I looked over to the score table because in my mind, I should have been losing to Gary Dakar already, but it's 0-0. And in looking over, he took me down and won in the last second. And the question is, did he win or did I allow him to win? Right. And I know the answer to that. So fast forward, now I'm in the Marine Corps and I'm at Cherry Point, North Carolina, and there's a wrestling team. And I go to this wrestling team practice and I'm wrestling these people. And I'm like, man, these guys are pretty tough. And at the end of the practice, I beat these guys. And they're like, man, how many times did you win states? I said, actually, I never went to states. I never won states. Like, what? I said, and I just said, because they asked me, I said, why, how many times did you win states? He's like, I'm a 2-time state champion. I'm a 3-time state champion. And these are people that I beat. So had I known prior to us being on the mat that they were 2-time and 3-time state champions, guess what? I wouldn't have let them win. I wouldn't have let myself win. Emotionally and in my belief, I didn't feel I was good enough to beat multiple state champions. So the good news is that unfolded to where I didn't know they were state champions until after I beat them. And at that moment, I had the same skill sets, but my level of belief lifted exponentially. So in essence, I became a state champion beater. And I actually became someone that looked forward to wrestling people that were undefeated because, oh, cool, they haven't lost yet? Great. I can't wait to see their face when they lose today. Right. And that's a whole different mentality,
Yeah.
right? Of who I was in high school to who I was a few years later from that experience in the Marine Corps that happened serendipitously. I would have never learned that lesson if it didn't unfold in the way it did. Had I found out that I was going to wrestle these 2-time and 3-time state champions, I would have not allowed myself to win mentally. But I didn't know that, so I beat them. And it wasn't simple, but I still beat them pretty handedly. And then I transitioned from being someone who isn't worthy of beating a state champ to that's what I do. I beat people that don't get beat. And I went on to go and win tournaments and beat people that on paper I had zero business beating. But I
That is
knew,
amazing.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, Tom. So coming from that kind of background, right, and beating these state champions now, it's almost like you found a superpower, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you decided that you want to become an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to kind of find your way. And you
Yep.
already mentioned that was a journey. Like it wasn't and it isn't as easy as people think it is, right?
Right.
And you probably get, especially at the beginning, get shot down a lot more, right? Until you kind of find your way. So
Mm-hmm.
how did you go from being these state champions, right, to becoming an entrepreneur and kind of being lost in the jungle, trying to figure out your way, and I guess not being that state champion in the entrepreneurship when you first started, right? Because you've gone from complete opposites now.
Right.
How did you mentally, emotionally deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that actually leads to another lesson that was in the Marine Corps. So that was at our Cherry Point base. And then there happened to be someone who came from the Naval Academy, who was the Naval Academy's team captain, he was a first lieutenant or second lieutenant when he got to our unit. His name's Jay Antonelli. So he was tough. He's like the shorter but thicker, like he just looks like a pit bull like person, and he was tough as nails. And so he and I were wrestling partners at that local Cherry Point thing. And then he's like, hey, you know what? We should go try out for the All Marine team. That's in Quantico, Virginia. I said, great, sign me up. Let's do this. So we put our applications in to go do it. He got approved. I got denied, but I fought for it, and he fought with me for it to go to from Cherry Point to Quantico to go try out for the All Marine team. long story short, I made it there against that was huge barriers. Like I was told numerous times, it's impossible, stop, give up. But I didn't give up, right? So I made it to the all marine trials in Quantico. And there was a dude there who was the Olympic alternate. And so now I'm beating state champions and I'm hanging with people that are nationally ranked. I get on the mat with this Olympic alternate and he wiped me around the mat like I'd never stepped on a wrestling mat before in my life. So that this all comes full circle. So now I'm the state champion beater, and now I wrestle this dude who's the Olympic alternate, and he embarrassed me on the like when I walked off the mat. I'm like, my mind was like, what just happened? Like, how is that even possible? So that experience, and it taught me, and at that moment, I had two choices: stay the heck away from that person, or how can I, in essence, I got to earn the right to even get worthy enough to have him want to wrestle me, right? If you're a tennis player and you can just ace the person all the time, why are you going to bother playing that person? So I had to like, okay, this guy's at a different level. I got to level up. So I leveled up, right? He went from embarrassing me to wiping me around like I had no business being on the mat to now I leveled up and now it became a battle, right? So that's part A. Part B was to answer your question. When I went with this attitude of being the honor man out of boot camp, the top wrestler, the state champion beater, the national bicycle champion, number 1 in 5 sales organizations, to going out and to be an entrepreneur, I had the grandiose visions of I'm going to set records of how quickly I become, worth tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, and skidded on my lessons that were being learned very painfully and very costly. And so that was a similar experience and reflected me back to getting my butt handed to me from that Olympic alternate. And that's really like the entrepreneur journey handed me my butt and said, are you sure? Like, do you want more of this? Because there's more waiting for you if you're ready. And I had the choice to either tuck my tail and run or say, I got to level up. Right. So leveling up occurred. And that's where I actually went and started going to live events in January 2005. And the leveling up came from the similar techniques that allowed me to be a national bicycle champion, allowed me to be a top wrestler, allowed me to be a top salesperson, aligning with people who were already great at what I wanted to do. So when I went to live events, I started meeting people who weren't that much smarter than me, that were doing things that were miraculous, right? And that's where that leveled me up in my entrepreneur game. And so the lessons that I learned to be the top bicycle champion and the wrestler were to go to the people who were amazing and pay them to train me, right? So going to live events is where I started meeting people that were the experts in business as entrepreneurs. And I hired some as coaches. I learned from them. They mentored me. I became friends with many of them. And then was put into the world of the most elite marketers, right? And it was kind of a wild journey. Once I was in that world, it's similar to the bicycle riding. Like, if you see someone doing a trick like that, like, wow, that's impossible. It's impossible until you see them do it, and then you see someone else do it. And then what's used to be impossible is now not only possible, it just happens on the regular. And so when you hang around people that are doing miraculous things, it goes from being miraculous to just normal. That's just what happens.
Wow.
Right. So the leveling up occurred from that wrestling example happened in entrepreneurship. And it wasn't until I went to live events and started meeting those people that were able to teach me how to take those seemingly miraculous things and turn them into reality.
Wow, that is amazing. Oh my goodness. It feels like everything that you went through when you were younger, right, were there to teach you a lesson, to prepare you to what the ultimate goal was, right? But when we're younger, we don't realize that. We don't realize that these are lessons, right? And skills and helping us with our mindset to get us straight for what the ultimate reason is for us to be here.
Right. You're 100%. And all of its lessons. So everything, there's a quote that says, every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. That's from Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone. And when you're going through adversities and challenges, it doesn't comfort you. Those aren't comforting words. But in retrospect, years and decades later, you can wow, thank God I went through that, because that taught me this, which then led to the huge benefit waiting. So once again, that quote, every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. So all those adversities that I have explained, and there's many more, and all the adversities that you're thinking about that you've gone through in your life, in retrospect, you can say, you know what, I'm glad that happened because I learned this. And I'm here to say, even if I had that that question that some people ask, well, what would be the thing you would change? My answer is nothing. I wouldn't change anything because everything had to happen exactly the way it had to happen for me to be who I am today.
Yeah.
And that's even just, and even a few years ago, like the things that we can handle today, we couldn't have handled a couple years ago.
No.
And there's that old saying that said, God doesn't give you anything that you can't handle. Sometimes you're like, whoa, I think you have me mistaken with someone else. I can't handle this. Like, what's going on? This is beyond my capabilities. But life is the ultimate level up game. And if you think about life as a game, we talked about it being the ultimate, most amazing amusement park in the universe, but think about Mario Kart, right? You don't stay at level 1. It's boring. And just like that, the person that's great at tennis, if he can ace you every time, they're not going to waste their time to even get on the court with you, because what's the point of acing? Level 1 would bore the heck out of you to where you wouldn't play it anymore. Well, guess what? Life levels you up to level 2. When you get to level 2, you're like, oh crap, this is tough. And for a little while it's tough, and then you figure it out, and then you ace that. And then life levels you up to level 3. So life is just like Mario Kart. It's continually leveling you up, even if you don't want to. Even if you're comfortable at that level, life's going to level you up, and there's always going to be chaos. So one of the things I learned in the Marine Corps is a lesson at first that I'm like, screw this is a stupid lesson, I don't like it. But it became super powerful, not just for that lesson, but also in life. And here's what I mean. So you may have learned something similar in your journeys, Kay. If someone pulls a knife on you, the first thing you must do if you want to live is to make the choice and say, I'm going to get cut. And when I heard that, I'm like, that's stupid. I don't want to get cut. And here's why: it saves lives. And so I hope this never happens to you watching this, but if someone ever does pull a knife on you, the first thing you need to do is tell yourself, crap, I'm going to get cut. And that way, and here's how the scenario works out. If you get cut on the arm, you're not going to be surprised, like, oh shit, I'm cut. You're gonna be like, yeah, I was expecting to get cut. And you're keeping your guard up, because if you didn't make the choice and recognize you're going to get cut, when you're cut, you're like, oh crap, I'm cut. Now you're stabbed and killed. Now you're dead because you didn't expect to get cut. So at first I was like, screw that, that's a stupid lesson. But that's not only an important lesson if someone pulls a knife on you. A, run and get the hell away from it as quickly as possible. B, if you have to be there with it, you just expect that you're going to get cut. That way, when you do, you're not going to lose your focus, and your whole goal is to get out of there alive. So in business, expect to get cut is expect chaos. Expect things to not go to plan. Plans rarely go to plan. Like, just expect that. The old version of me, the immature one who didn't embrace that in my hard lessons learned, was like pissed off when plans didn't go to plan, or that person wasn't supposed to do that, or this technology thing wasn't supposed to do that. This was supposed to work this way. Now it's just like, oh, okay, that happened. Now that happened, it is what it is. That happened. It was meant to happen, because I'm of the belief that it happened because it was meant to happen. If it wasn't meant to happen, it wouldn't have happened. But you just stay calm, cool, and collected, like, oh crap, okay. Of course the technology thing didn't work as planned. So it's called in Marine Corps, improvise, adapt, and overcome. So, okay, now that this didn't go to plan, is the desired outcome still the same, or did that change the desired outcome? If in either case, what's the next step for me to take right now? Instead of getting all worked up and all internal, and I can see myself in presentations many, many years ago, and I'd still be pissed off about a technology snafu, or that person said that when they weren't supposed to say that. They were supposed to say this. And that doesn't allow me to be in the fully present moment, which is where our power is. So in essence, just be okay with life unfolding, not to plan. It's going to unfold the way that life does, and expect chaos, expect plans to not go to plan, and just be calm and comforted in the fact that you are a kick butt problem solver.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm a kick butt problem solver. I'll figure it out.
Yes, exactly, precisely. And Tom, at this point, I want to take everyone on a little break, right? We are going to be playing a little game here right now, which I do with every single one of my guests. It's called the Make Your Mark Challenge. Okay. Now, what the Make Your Mark Challenge is about is, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, Tom, right, to name as many companies out there that we have come to know and love, use on a daily basis in our homes or in our businesses, that have made their mark, right? And as many as possible, name as many as possible in 30 seconds, and whoever names as many as they can in 30 seconds is going to be a winner, will be receiving a gift from me at the end of this season. Okay? You up for it?
Me?
Yes.
Sure, sure. I'm up for it. This was totally a surprise. I have,
Yes.
it's funny. I will see what's up. I will see what's up. 30 seconds. Interesting.
Yes. Because, you've mentioned so many ways on how you've made your mark in the world,
Mhm.
right? And you continue to do so. And there's so many companies out there that have already done the same, right? And everyone has different journeys. And so I would like to just take 30 seconds with you. I'm going to time you, right? No Googling, no cheating,
Sure,
right?
sure.
To name as many brands as possible. And at the end of the season, everybody's going to get an email to let them know what their scores are and who the winner is.
Okay,
Yeah?
perfect.
All right, awesome. So let me just get the timer up and we will get this going. All right. So after three, 1, 2, 3, go.
Zoom, GoToMeeting, Nike, Adidas, Mercedes, Subaru, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, Jaguar, Infiniti, Nissan, Toyota, uh, Puma, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Microsoft, Apple,
Mm-hmm.
Google, Ray-Ban, Facebook.
So you did really well there. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see. You got 1, 2. Oh my goodness.
How many did I get?
22.
Hmm,
22, right?
not bad. And by the way, that's a great number because my son was born on 2/22/2002.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
Wow.
22. I couldn't have planned it any better. 22
Yeah,
is
22 is really, really good. Almost 1 a second, almost.
mhm.
Right? Wow. Okay, that was pretty cool. So, like I said, I will let you know everyone's scores at the end of the season. Okay. And you'll soon find out who is the winner. But wow. All right, let's get back to the episode. So you mentioned that the different things that we go through prepared you to be this entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
It already gave you the mental strength to keep carrying on because it's not an easy road to go on.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that I have found out about you, Tom, right,
Mhm.
in our research is you like to do things out of the norm, right? You want to be different.
Yes.
And I came across a picture
Mhm.
of you speaking on stage, because this is what you do, right? You
Mhm.
speak all over the world, you help many people, but this one was slightly different.
Okay.
You was in a mankini on stage, Tom.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that and how, in your mind, did you go out on stage in front of an audience in nothing but a mankini?
That was a fun story. And that was going back to like 2011. And so I was in a mastermind called the Syndicate. It had
Mm.
Frank Kern, Mike Filsaime, Brendan Burchard, Ryan Dice, um, and a whole bunch of other top internet marketers. And it was the elite. So Frank and Trey Smith. Trey Smith is Frank's cousin, was having an event in San Diego. And I let Trey know, hey, Trey, I'm coming out and I'm bringing a mankini for you. And he's like, dude, I don't have the balls figuratively or literally to wear that thing. But if you bring one, I'll get you on stage. So, and he opened a window. So I didn't own a mankini, but he opened a window where we had Bob Proctor was on that stage from The Secret. Andy Jenkins was on there. Mike Filsaime was on there. Like Frank Kern was on there. A whole bunch of top people were speaking. I wasn't on the agenda for that particular event, but Trey opened the window and he said, if you bring one, I'll get you on stage. So I didn't own one. So I went to Amazon, bought one, flew out to San Diego, and there was an event the day prior. I went to that event the day prior, and I saw Trey. I told him, hey, I brought that mankini. He's like, dude, you won't wear it. Like, I will. So the next morning came, and it was time. It was the day for Trey's event, and I leave with the mankini in my backpack. And as I close the hotel door and start walking out, it hit me in my mind. It's like, wait a minute. I've hosted many events. I've spoken at many events, and I know there's not going to be a time when I'm not on the schedule to where he's going to be like, hey, go change into that mankini and come back out. So I went back into my room and put it on under my clothes. the mankini. And that was my first experience with a thong as a man. And under my clothes. So I put my clothes over it and I leave and I go there early to the event and I see Trey with his team getting ready for this event, which had about 500 people there. It's a big event. It's at the Hard Rock Hotel in San Diego. And it was for apps, app developers and things like that. And he was with his team and my mind was like, there's a lot happening. Don't interfere. You know, I don't want to go interrupt him. And my mind said, screw that. I got a thong up my butt. I'm going over to talk to him. So I went over to him. I said, Trey, I got that thing on. I pulled up my shirt. He's like, get the heck out of here. He's like, what? He's like, you're actually going to do it? I'm like, yeah, we'll find some time. So after Andy Jenkins presented, there was some lighting issues on stage. And he comes over, Trey comes over. Hey, dude, we got some people that got to go up and fix the lights. Like, are you ready to go up? I'm like, sure, let's do it. He's like, what are you going to talk about? I was like, crap, I don't know. What do you want me to talk about? He's like, I don't know. I didn't think about it. I said, me neither. I said, how about stepping out of your comfort zone? He's like, perfect. So they were fixing the lights and I'm stripping out in the back, taking my clothes off. Glenn Ledwell from My Movies. He's from Australia. He's like, mate. And I saw Glenn this past week. I told the story at a mastermind we did. Mate, what in the bloody hell is going on? What are you? You'll find out soon. Check it out. So Trey calls me up and I go up in front of these roughly 500 millionaires, app millionaires, and talk about the power of stepping out of your comfort zone and shared the stage with Bob Proctor and a whole bunch of others. And I talked to Bob afterward. He's like, hey, what'd you talk about? I said, I wore this on stage and talked about the power of stepping out of your comfort zone. Bob Proctor's like, you're crazy. I'm like, absolutely. And the point is to be memorable. And there's ways to be memorable without having to strip naked and wear a Borat mankini. But that was a stepping out of my comfort zone moment for me, but it also is still memorable. So even though Bob Proctor and so many other amazing presentations happened there, the only one that's remembered from that presentation is me. In that 5 minutes, and when I see him around the world, they're like, dude, I was there. That was crazy. And actually Glenn, who has shared since, he's scared to speak on stage. Like, mate, I'm scared to speak on stage, but if I picture you in that slingshot, if you can do it with no clothes on, I can do it with my clothes on. Right. So it's inspired a lot of people and it's put my name out there and I'm okay with being typecast of the mankini guy. I don't wear that on stages. That was the one and only time.
Do you still have the mankini?
Yeah, it's around somewhere, but yeah, it's been fun.
And you know, years down the line, people are still talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So the key is be memorable. How can you be memorable? Like, and that's, you know, with business cards and things like that. Like I've had $1 million bill. I had a $1 million bill printed up with my info on it, and people 5 years later, 7 years later would pull it out of their wallet. Look, I still have this that you gave to me 10 years ago. I transitioned from the $1 million bill to the $1 billion bill because millions go faster than you'd think too. So billions, right? So the $1 billion bill, like what can you do that's memorable? Like who saves business cards for years? Like I've had people that still have the $1 million or $1 billion bill in their wallet or purse for 7-10 years.
Wow. Tom, like you've got endless amount of stories, lessons to teach people. I can see why people not only need you, but you've helped so many people, because the amount of stuff that you have gone through right now kind of gives you the space to kind of say to people, listen, if I can do it, then you can do it. There's no reason, no excuse why you can't be successful as well. And you are an inspiration. Absolutely an inspiration. The fact that you've gone through so much and you still walk around with this huge smile on your face, right? Nothing's going to defeat you. People need to know how you do this, right? Guys, please take the opportunity to reach out to Tom, right? Connect with him. And in fact, Tom, if people want to connect with you, where should they go?
If you go to tombeal.com, that's kind of like my directory of all my social media and all the different places you can connect with the products and services that I have. So tombeal.com, TOMBEAL.com. And I just want to share this, Kay, and thank you for your kind words, but I'm kind of the life coach to the highly successful business achievers, right? So people worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions, things of that nature. The bottom line is no level of success excludes you from difficulties and challenges and chaos. And so regardless of where you are, and I'm saying this for myself and many of our mutual friends, Kay, doesn't matter who you are, what level of success you've achieved, life is continually leveling you up. So you're either in a health issue, a relationship issue, or a financial issue right now. You're either just coming out of one, and or there's one or more right around the corner. It's a continual testing of leveling up. So no matter what levels of achievement you've accomplished, just know myself and every other person is human, just like the rest of us. And we have challenges, we have problems, we have difficulties, but we don't let it slow us down. We acknowledge it, we accept it. Okay, that is what it is. I didn't see that one coming. Ooh, this is a good one. Ooh, this is a tough one. I'm gonna have to reach out to my network of friends and coaches. Oh, wow, help me. Like, what do I do now? Like, so understand, and I'm saying this because of the journey that I've come through and the pain and the difficulty and the challenges and the lessons. There was many times where I'm like, well, I guess it's been a good run. This is it. This is it. Can't get out of this. This is it.
Right.
Somehow, some way, you get through. Just pick yourself up, dust yourself off. So you know what? I am a kick butt problem solver. I didn't see this problem coming, but I know that I'll be able to pull through. I'm going to improvise, adapt, and overcome. I'm going to get clear on where I am, the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm going to get clear on where I'm going in my health, my relationships, and finances. And one step and one day at a time, I'm going to complete this most amazing amusement park in the universe and fist bump those that are with me, say, did we have the most fun or what? No one had more fun than us. So in all the chaos, all the craziness, and if you haven't noticed, the world's gone upside down. It's absolutely crazy and insane. That doesn't also stop me from continuing my journey. There's things I can control, and there's most of the things that I can't control. What I can't control are my thoughts, my words, and my actions. The man in the mirror, the man or woman in the mirror, and your thoughts, your words, your actions have gotten you to where you are now and will get you to where you're going. Don't let the world distract you. Don't let the problems or the challenges or the craziness slow you down from embracing who you are, this amazing vehicle, amazing person with your unique personality, experience, and perspective in the most amazing amusement park in the universe. And the key is to how can you joyously create and make sure at the end of it, when you're being escorted out, like, man, no one had more fun than me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Tom, the final question I want to ask you, right? You already know I'm in this podcasting world. I love podcasting, like guesting, having your own show. But as a business owner, right, why did you decide that guest podcasting was going to be one of the strategies that you were going to use to let your stories be known? Why did you decide that route?
So similar to me saying I can't beat Gary Dakar, like when I've traveled the world and spoken on stages, it always amazes me of how well my message resonates. And so I'm of the belief that it's my duty and my obligation to step up, and this is my doing the work. Like, this is something that I enjoy, and I know that someone's going to cross paths with this that's going to fulfill what's happened for numerous years of my life, where people will see me at a live event like, man, I came across that interview you did, and that hit me at a point when I needed it. Like, I was, so life is tough. So I do this to pay it forward. Like, I remember all the challenges I went through and saying, man, if I ever make it, I want to be there. I want to be someone who is able to build a bridge for those that are going through those challenges and difficulties. And as you can see, like, I can connect with it. So I know the pain, like, and we have mutual friends that, it's a crazy world out there. So this is my way of that lifeline. Like, look, I've been there where I'm just like, I need to tap into some hope, somebody that can meet me where I am. So that's why I do this. I know that this journey can be crazy, and it can beat someone down and up. So I'm here to share these messages, and I know that it's going to reach the right people. And so I've had people that they said, man, I was ready to throw the towel in. Your words inspired me. And they've since gone on to create multi-decade $1 million companies that employ hundreds of people. And I'll tell you about one mutual friend that we have that you will be like, holy crap, I didn't know that. Like, I made a blog post and he was ready to give up at that time. And he's since gone on to do multiple tens of millions of dollars, impact thousands upon thousands of lives positively. You never know what that one piece of, and this is that blog article I wrote was in 2008 or 9 or something like that. Like, and these podcasts, I get people that tell me, I heard that interview and that gave me that, you know what, I'm not throwing the towel in, I'm going to go for this and not give up on their dreams. So I've had it happen so many times that it's just my way of, hey, you know what, if there's an opportunity for me to share this message, I'm there to share it.
Amazing. And I'm curious now, who was this person?
Shakir.
Oh, yes, I know
Yeah.
him. Yes. Okay.
He was
Okay.
ready to, yeah, and I can show, I'll forward you that blog post. And he's like,
Please
you're gonna,
do.
he was ready to give up, and he wrote a comment, and I wrote a comment, and 10 years later, he's a whole different person. He was literally going to throw the towel in, and it basically said, you inspired me. Like, if you can do it, I can do it. Right. That's like, he was ready to throw the towel in, and that's one of many that I've had that really turned out amazing.
So what you basically are saying is that we have a duty of getting our message and our stories out there, because of other people and what they may be going through, not going through. But it's our duty, right, to make this place a better world to live in for all of us.
Yeah. That what my grandpa taught me. He was a hardwood floorman. And he's like, and when I'm like 8 years old, he's like, hey, Tom, go clean up that room over there. I said, well, Papa, we didn't even go in that room. He's like, it was a mess before we got here. He said, well, the goal is to leave places better than when you got here. And so that's been my mantra since young. Like, I want to leave this place better. Everywhere I go, I want to leave a conversation with someone I had, them in a better place than when I got there. And as we do this, it's paying it forward. And that one ripple is going to make a difference in ways that you probably can't ever comprehend and may never comprehend. But doing what's yours to do is a really fulfilling. It just feels good.
Yeah. Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming onto the show, guys. Reach out to Tom. Like, there is so much you can learn from him. Connect with him. Make sure you go ahead and, have a conversation with him if you need to find out what else he's doing. He can most definitely help you and your business. Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show. So many golden nuggets. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I look forward to our paths crossing face to face again soon.
Most definitely. Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.